Hi, everyone. It's Amanda Rieger Green. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Soul Sessions. If you're new to this podcast, I'm so glad you're here. This is a podcast in a space for working on your personal and spiritual development, but also exploring consciousness, intuition, discernment, and how we navigate our personal stories, our personal epics in this epic adventure of life and a world that is shifting and accelerating so rapidly. It can be overwhelming. It can be exhausting. The energy can run from high to low, and our nervous systems, our minds, our hearts, our bodies, our emotions can feel completely bombarded and overwhelmed right now. But I truly believe that through this gateway and energy that we're walking through, that something magnificent is happening, that evolution is happening in real time, physically in our bodies, in our energy systems, and in the way in which we gather and share intelligence and our consciousness. I know that's a mouthful, but if you're feeling the immensity of yourself and the energy right now, know that you're not alone. And also, don't give up. I This past few weeks, the energy has just kind of skyrocketed high, and then it'll plummet very low, and that erratic energy from high to low really does take its toll on the physical body and our mental fortitude, our mental capacities. One thing that I want to dive into today in navigating this accelerating energy is for, I don't know, maybe the last 2 decades. It's 2026 right now. If I think back to the 2000s, 2010s, there's been this massive hype and focus around self care, personal care, growth, healing, understanding yourself, confronting your wounds and your patterns, what you're healing, who you are, what your meaning is, and then also how you consciously co-create, what you manifest. I mean, so spiritual and metaphysical and hermetic principles, as well as self-help, self-care, that's just blown up in the last couple of decades plus. I think we're entering a new era and we're living through it right now, and it's a little bit confusing. But what I think is unique about where we are right now, it's not so much about going backwards and revisiting old traumas, old wounds, old pain. It's not about bypassing those or not recognizing where your pressure points are, where your pains are, where you can slip backwards and be moving in the present moment from an old wound, coming from an old version of yourself, an old identity. It's not about neglecting or bypassing or ignoring any of that. But the energy right now is asking us to be very present. And it's not so much about what we're healing or even what we're manifesting or what wounds we need to heal, what blockages we need to remove, what limiting belief do we need to alter or shift. That's a lot of the lingo and rhetoric that has been very beneficial in my journey, and I know that many of you resonate with. But there's this point, which I believe that we are in, we're constantly looking for what's wrong, where the blockage is, where the pressure point is, where the wound is, begins to organize our consciousness around the past and the pain and the trauma versus orienting us to what is trying to open up and develop now. One thing I noticed for myself, I was really reflecting on this morning about how my energy field can stay in old loops where I feel very much on guard, like something bad's going to happen. And it's almost like my unconscious is a vigilante, meaning even though I know what's on my plate for the day and I have my schedule for the week, I have what I need, I'm suiting up, I'm showing up, I'm getting my quote unquote self care in, I'm taking care of myself, I'm getting good rest and nutrition. And however I'm showing up, unconsciously, there can be old programs running. And this is back to reflecting, but old programs running that are very much on guard and like a vigilante. And I think the energy right now is asking us to notice the energy beneath the energy, like the energy beneath your day, so to speak, beneath what's in your daily life and routine, what's really running the show. And is it telling the truth? Is it what you want to be running the show? And maybe the answer for you is yes. I had a client who I talked to this week, and I said, man, you feel so good. You feel content. You feel happy. And I said, what it really is you feel cohesive. I said, I can see and feel in your energy field around you and deep within on a cellular level, you feel cohesive. And she said, I do. And the funny thing is, she has some stuff going on with her daughter, her adult daughter, and navigating life and children and marriage and work and its sanity and the complexities of day to day. And stepchildren walking through some heavy events and supporting her spouse as her spouse supports her. She has life going on. Okay. So life is happening in real time with all the pressure points and the pains and the interpersonal and familial stuff as humans that we all deal with relationally. But her energy field and deep within on a cellular level, she feels her cohesive and her baseline is cohesive. And she said, I do. I'm happy. I'm okay. I'm content. I'm enough. Fill in the blank with whatever resonates with you. And I want you to think about that for a minute. When do you feel cohesive? And like I said, you can fill in your blank for adjectives or sentiments that resonate with you. It's peaceful, easy, okay, just right, enough, regulated. Maybe you use some of that rhetoric. Your nervous system is regulated. And do you feel that way more often than not? Or deep down, is there a lack of cohesion, a dis-ease, a frenetic, like I said, for me, vigilante down there, deep down on a cellular level that is kind of on guard in some kind of adrenaline mode? Even when on the surface, I'm practicing my self-care and my grounding and my nervous system regulation, and I'm very aware of these things. Deep down, I can feel the lack of cohesion. And the funny thing is, I talked to another client and we had the opposite discussion. I was like, deep down, she's got on the surface 2 kids that are great, happy, and healthy, a long range, solid marriage. They have a great home. She lives near her family. Like on the surface, like she has what she needs. Everything is good. Okay. But deep down, it's like, I'm not happy. I'm not okay. It's not okay. And the challenging part for any of us in that, because this is the natural triggered human response, is I have everything I need on the surface. I can't feel unhappy or not okay because then I'm not grateful. We begin to rationalize and then we shame ourselves. This is not about not feeling grateful. This is about on a deeper cellular level, recognizing, are you feeling cohesive, connected, and present? Or more often than not, are you feeling untethered, out of whack, in some sort of disease? And it's not anything that you're causing or I'm causing or necessarily even what is going on a surface level. We energetically are trying to process massive energetic shifts. And our bodies are moving energetically, physiologically from high to low. And in my last podcast, I talked about feeling fired up and creative and ready to go, and then stuck at the same time, or really thirsty for something new and energized and ready and urgent, and then depressed simultaneously, like a tension. And right now, the energy field is working out dis-ease. And also, I'm going to introduce another concept into this, is if we're moving into a greater evolution of humanity, energy, the way that we navigate our lives, consciousness, energy, intelligence, because we have to, because of the rapid pace of the conditions of our experience right now and the acceleration, our inner operating system is needing to evolve, to upgrade, to shift, to respond differently because of the pace of external intelligence accelerating faster than ever and almost outpacing human intelligence. And that's real and that is happening. How do we assimilate that? But the other thing that I've been pondering and seeing, apart from where we feel cohesive deep down or incohesive, is this element of competition, fight, that I need to be driving, striving, working hard, outpacing. And whether it's competing with ourselves, competing with others, needing external validation and likes, we're set up to compete internally and externally. And as we shift into cohesion, we're starting to shift competition. Can you imagine? And I really want you to think about this for a minute because I have pondered it for the last couple of months. Can you imagine living in a world where there was no competition? Competition for food, competition for money, for land, for happiness, for significance, for recognition, competition for love, attention, affection, fill in the blank. If you removed competition from your life, and think about that for a moment, where do you compete? This is for you to talk to yourself and your soul about right now. Where do you compete? Where do you compete with yourself and where do you compete with others? If you don't show up better than, on guard, outpacing, wherever it may be, what if you dropped a little bit of that competition and you invited in cohesion, harmony? I think this acceleration of energy is asking for actually more stillness and more peace so we can tap into not more information, but our wisdom, not more knowledge, but embodiment, not more speed, but evolution. And this is where being able to utilize our intuition, our discernment really comes into play. But I think right now the most valuable place to really take an honest appraisal of yourself and your life is, where am I competing internally and externally? And what would life look like if I removed the competitive energy, embodiment, and behaviors? I've really contemplated this quite a bit because part of me, and I suspect that you all are thinking this as I discuss it, part of me thinks, gosh, who would I be if I didn't compete? And I compete with myself. I know this about me. I'm always one-upping myself. And the loudest critic in my life is the voice in my head. Not anybody externally telling me I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I should be doing better. And I'm not talking about constructive feedback, but just that old voice in the head. You're not doing enough, you're not doing it, fast enough, or you should be doing it better, or you should be further along, or whatever that rhetoric is. The competition is internally. So what if I changed that energy and dropped the competition and the critic and created more cohesion in the sense that I'm right where I'm supposed to be? I am enough. And when I hear that vigilante on guard deep down, being actually able to sit in it and embrace it, integrate it. And like I was sharing these past couple of weeks, in the energy right now, the summer of 2026 has pretty brilliant opportunity for us through a lot of discomfort. And I will say this season, this summer, is not a time to drift. I don't mean, hey, be vigilant, be on guard, but it's a time of actually applying your intelligence differently. And not because you're going to miss some magical portal if you don't buckle down intuitively and energetically and really fine tune your awareness. But there's something interesting this summer where the more we fine tune our internal instrument towards cohesion, internal cohesion, not through our actions, but internally, when do I feel cohesive? And how can I create that cohesion more consistently in my daily life? And where am I fighting and competing and on guard? And how can I start to shift that, not only that perspective, but that innate hardwired sense that's hardwired in our human intelligence? This time, this summer, I would encourage anybody out there to find community where you feel witnessed, where you feel challenged and seen, to be vulnerable, be real, be honest in where you are, or start some kind of spiritual practice that is just for you, not externally performative, just something spiritual in your daily routine that gives you time and space. And maybe it is waking up 30, 45 minutes, an hour earlier and sitting in stillness without electronics and maybe a journal and your coffee or your tea, letting the first rays of the sun hit your face and your eyes, which does a lot with our circadian rhythms and hormones and our biology. Maybe that's something that you commit to in a consistent way. Or maybe it's through meditating, choosing to meditate. And if you struggle with meditation, there are so many forms of meditation. A lot of times for me, I meditate when I am walking to and from the gym, and I take my headphones out, put them in my bag, and I just walk and I listen. And a lot of times I'll just run through my energy systems. I'll start at my root chakra, go into my sacral chakra and my solar plexus and my heart, throat chakra, third eye, crown. I will open, cleanse, clear, align those on this 15, 20-minute walk. I don't do that all the time, but walking meditations, you don't just have to sit and be still. Maybe you take 3 minutes 3 times a day and you breathe deeply. Commit to some sort of spiritual practice. Or maybe you invest in yourself and work with someone who can intuitively or spiritually, or maybe even deeper and different than therapy, but therapy may be the thing too, that helps somebody who helps you see who you truly are and helps acknowledge your blind spots so you can integrate them. What I'm suggesting is this summer is actually a little bit paradoxical. It's saying actually engage more, not work harder, fix yourself, heal. It's saying look at what is present for you right now and feel where you feel cohesive and where the disease and the incohesion is. And see if you can find ways to bring yourself into a greater sense of consciousness. We're not just healing anymore, we're evolving. And the question isn't, when are things going to get back to normal? Somebody asked me that the other day about the volume being turned up in the energy field, because somebody said, my gosh, I can hear people's thoughts and I can feel their emotions. The energy field is so porous. The volume is so loud. When is this going to turn down? And I said, I don't think it is. We're moving energetically to a new baseline where we are becoming more telepathic. And I've mentioned this before, and I believe it, and I see it happening in real time. We're moving into an era in the next couple of years where people will be able to see and read your energy field. And I know many of you listening are intuitive, empathic, and feel things deeply and have been practicing discernment. What energy is yours? What energy isn't yours? When you see someone's energy and feeling it, it's not about judging it, it's just being aware of it. That's going to become more normal. So, what does your energy look like? If you were fully exposed energetically, would somebody see you as cohesive and clear and embodied and present? Or would they see you as frustrated, competitive, out of whack, out of alignment, fighting for, needing, thirsty? What? Just think about that. And again, this is no judgment. This is the time to create this deeper cohesion, because things are not going back to quote unquote some kind of normal. We're moving into a higher stimulus and a higher baseline. So your question is, what version of me is capable of meeting what is emerging? And am I showing up in a more cohesive, present, and embodied way? Or am I still in some sort of fight, flight, dis-ease internally? This is the time to be really clear and honest about that. And I feel it. Like I said, I will talk to some people and I'm like, whoa, they are so cohesive. Or I'll connect with somebody and I can see when someone is cohesive versus incohesive. And I can feel it within myself. And my energy keeps swinging from really incohesive to just clean and cohesive. So it's almost erratic right now. Like my energy is trying to find a new, not a new, but an evolved baseline. And it can feel really depressing, boring, frustrating. And like I said, enriching and engaged, and then stunted or stuck at the same time. So just know that the summer's energy is powerful. And I think through the summer and into the fall, we'll see some things, I wanted to say iron out, but kind of slow down a little bit energetically. But the summer is like a tight vacuum of energy. So don't sleep through this evolutionary portal. Engage with it. Engage with your discomfort. Engage with your dark places and your shadow. Integrate them, not so much going backwards into your wound, but bringing them in so you can alchemize them. We're alchemizing a lot of energy. We are going through some pretty wild times, and I'm so grateful to not have to do this alone and to have so many people who feel and sense these massive shifts that we're experiencing energetically, like I do, like you do, and knowing that we're in this together. We don't have to navigate this alone. So I encourage you to use the summer, use this time to engage with your evolution and what is evolving in you. And is it evolving cohesively? Or are you bringing your dis-ease and your incoherence with you? And again, to me, It's looking at where we compete with ourselves and compete with others. Where can you cease fighting energetically, internally, externally, to invite in more peace and cohesiveness on a cellular level, on a mental level, on an energetic level? Because everything externally in the world is screaming the opposite. But where we have our sovereignty and our empowerment and our agency is right here, right now, and within our attitudes and actions, how we show up. And it's not just the attitudes and actions, it's I think the internal energy field, the cohesion or lack thereof. Thank you so much for joining me. So glad we get to navigate these incredible times together. Be well, everyone.